Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Do you want to leave your job to create a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares the stories, lessons and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient and sustainable business. Do you want more or simply have a question about what you heard? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com or look me up, Gary Ashton, on Facebook and Messenger for individual help. Business coaching helps you to have the right mindset and perspective when it comes to daily decision-making, planning, or knowing what to look for to improve your business. thinktankcoaching.com.au has helped me, and they can help you move towards your business goals. Visit their website or email them, thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. If you want to establish the best practices in bookkeeping, accounting, and business structure, contact Adrian from Prosper Financial on 0249 773363. And you all need to head to Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia and the Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook groups for supportive communities focused on our industry. So, welcome to the dungeon, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate, especially with this beautiful weather.
It's not bad for March, is it?
It's quite warm. It was, about 29 today?
Yeah, my watch is still saying 28 degrees, and I'm in the dungeon here, so I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
I was outside picking up dog poo a second ago, and nice breeze. And come in here, and there's no airflow, and sweating.
Yeah.
So you've been out working this morning?
Yeah, we're doing 4 days a week now instead of 5.
Yep. Now, for the listeners, they're going to be wondering who you are. I've only introduced you as Steve, but your last name?
Dahlin, D-A-H-L-I-N.
So you say Dahlin?
Yeah, Dahlin. But Dahlin, that's in Norwegian and Danish. That's the ancestry.
Okay, there you go.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make sure I've got everything open up in front of me. Sorry. Still going. Yeah. So, Steve, you work in the Newcastle area. You live just out of Newcastle, I think, in
Raymond Terrace, yeah.
In Raymond, yep.
Yeah.
So what areas do you service mostly?
I've got quite a large geographical area. It's just the way things panned out when I started off. Because I started off the run from zero. I didn't buy one. I didn't get a franchise.
Yeah.
And so I actually cover Newcastle inner suburbs, you could say, 2 days a week, and then Raymond Terrace, Medowie, Beresfield area, 2 days a week. And actually, I know a lot of guys say it's more practical to work in the one small area, right? But it doesn't always pan out that way.
It doesn't have to either, right? No. Like if you do have everything in one area, it means you can swap your days around a bit easier. But if you go, I'm going to do 3 days in one area and 2 days in another area, that still works well.
Yeah, and I find the further out of the Newcastle you go, the larger the blocks are. Well, that's what used to happen anyway. But like the new estates, you're looking at 300 square metres. That's a different ballgame. But generally in the inner city area, there's smaller blocks, and I can get a better $1 per hour rate.
You do a 300 to 400 square metre block, you're probably doing less than 200 square metres of mowing, and you're still charging a similar minimum rate as what you would if you're doing an 800 to quarter acre.
Exactly, because if you're doing say a decent sized block up here, when we refer to the land size, you're looking at the front boundary.
Yeah.
But a lot of the places here, they've got quite a huge between the boundary, like the front fence, or a lot of them don't have fences, but out to the gutter, they're quite large. You're going to
roadside verge.
Yeah, the roadside verge, so you've got to cover that as well. But there's only X amount of people who've got to pay, you know what I mean? So ideally, you should be charging, let's say, $100 for a lawn up here. You know what I mean? Due to the size. But you can get away with it in Newcastle because they're smaller blocks, not 100, less than that.
Yeah,
but it's a lot more beneficial to me. And I work out in my different runs, like different areas. I got, let's say, 8 runs, right? Of certain areas each fortnight, 4 days a week. I'd probably doing $20 to $30 an hour gross between the Newcastle than I am in Raymond Terrace, Medowie.
Yeah, that's significant.
Like income. It is. It adds up over a week. And there's also the weather. It could be raining up here. You know what I mean? So I could swap the days around, and I'd be back in Newcastle, and I'm still earning a quid, and so is my offsider.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so that makes a big difference. And I think we usually get to it later in the podcast, but since you've raised the different rates between, so Raymond Terrace, Medowie area, which has often been the lower socioeconomic areas, unless you get out into the small acreages.
That's exactly right.
Then you go into Newcastle, and you've got people who are well off, but they don't spend a lot of time at home.
That's right. They've all got good incomes, like to live there basically to start with, and they're time poor, so it's a lot easier to get someone to do it. You know what I mean? They're happy to pay for that.
Yeah. So tell me you don't want to share anything at any point in time, but I'll ask straight up what your day rate looks like by comparison between the two different areas. So if you're in Newcastle, what do you bring in for a day compared to if you're out Raymond Terrace?
When you say day, we use that term loosely because I only do 5 hours.
Well, you've got an offsider as well, and people need to keep all of those factors into consideration.
Yeah, exactly. Where is it? I've got it on a spreadsheet here. Some days I'd be looking at $1,000.
Yeah.
That's 200 an hour.
Yeah.
Right. That's in Newcastle.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at ballpark about 170 around here for the two of us. So
per hour.
It's 85. So you're going from 100 per man per hour to 85. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's $15 per man per hour. That's 30 an hour.
Yep.
Right. For the two of us, that's $150 a day.
Yep.
You know, so it's 4 days is $600 a week. You know.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it does. It does. Huge difference.
So the other thing that I'll touch on fairly early in the interview, you don't look like you're a spring chicken. So how long have you been doing this, and where are you up to now in terms of your retirement plan?
Well, I started this in 2015. That's about 8.5 years ago. Up to 2015. I'm 62 now, so I was 54 when I started a lawn mowing run, which is people think, what sort of idiot are you? You know, it's what I loved about it was the independence. I was working in the steel industry for one steel, and I just couldn't tolerate. I couldn't tolerate the management. It was just one big boys' club, but you know, I can speak poorly about them now because they went belly up.
The steel industry in Newcastle was around for a long time, but in 2015 there wasn't much left of it, right?
No, it was just scraps. It was just scraps. But I actually worked for BHP when I was 18 to 20 years old as a rigger.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when they employed 10,000 people in Newcastle.
You know? So you would have spent most of your career in the steel industry then?
Yeah.
Can you just hold up all your fingers and show me you've still got 10 fingers?
I've still got 10 fingers. I'll tell you some horror stories from over there. My God, people falling and whatnot. And as I was a rigger, you know, you're climbing up these steel beams and pipe work and whatnot. Yeah. With back then, no safety harnesses. So, you know,
of course. Why would you use a safety harness?
But you still had to wear a bloody helmet, a safety helmet, even though you might be 60 or 100 metres up in the air. You've got to have your safety helmet on. Doesn't do you much good.
Work health and safety would have had fun with that.
The last stint in the steelworks was like 17 years up until I was 54, and then I started my lawn run.
Yeah,
which was great. I thought I started into it easily because I probably wasn't used to the physical exercises work as well. When you start off, if you imagine you're 54 and you bought a franchise with existing customers or a non-franchise and independent with a fully loaded customer base, you imagine going from pushing buttons and using cranes and forklifts and whatnot to actually out there working your butt off. That would have been a hard slog. So it worked out quite well starting from zero because you'd actually, as you build your client base up, you build your fitness up, you know, and that was 8.5 years ago. And you can imagine the dollars I've saved in franchise fees over the years. I mean, I think franchise is a great thing, for half the guys, and independents, they're happy doing what they're doing. I don't bag either one, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm the same. I see good value in both options there. It's really depends on what you want to get out of the business as to which way you start and whether you stay that way or not.
Yeah, franchise, if you're a little bit unsure or whatever, they'd be a great thing for people if they wanted. They've still got their independence, but they've got someone to help them along.
I also think the franchise is a great way for you to rocket into employing people because you've got that constant stream of leads you don't have to chase.
Oh, that's right, and the leads, because every now and again I'll go on Jim's Plus, now known as Bizzer, right?
Yeah.
And I've tried them all. Over the years, if I want to target a certain area, like to build up, maybe I've lost a couple or whatever, and I want to turn the leads on in that area, I'll try those out. But High Pages, oh my God, I could tell you a story. They'll send 6 guys around to quote on a job, and you'll think it's regular, and they'll take the money from everybody. And I went on Jim's Plus, aka Bizzer. What is it, lead, $20 or $25? It varies, right?
It does vary, right?
They were genuine leads. They weren't mucking around. They weren't price shopping, you know what I mean? A lot of them just ring them and just for the one quote. Whereas High Pages, they'd be, the cheapest, nastiest quote would get the job, and High Pages is $90 or $100 richer, and all these contractors are a lot poorer and they've wasted their time. Some guys might have done well out of High Pages, but I think it'd work better, like for kitchen installers. I got my kitchen installer on High Pages. They're paying like $50 a lead or something, right? But it's a $22,000 job, where we're paying $15 or $20 for a $75, $80 job. It could be, which is way out of whack if you ask me.
Well, I think the High Pages, and there's been a few different options. I just can't remember. I've got a mental blank as to what the other ones are that are similar to that. But there's been a few of them around. And typically speaking, you're more likely to get tire kickers, you're more likely to get once-off jobs than regular work out of those, whereas Jim's Plus or Bizzer, you're more likely to get the regular work out of it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So, you're definitely talking a different value when you compare those. Not in the same league.
Yeah, exactly. Even I went to the when I did a couple of quotes I did get one job. I think it was at the Beresfield years and years ago. They were supposed to be regular, but oh no, that was it. They just ghosted you afterwards. They just wanted their feral lawn cut, One's only thinking that they're going to get a better reaction if you tell them it's regular. A lot of people do that. Well, if you do a good job and cheap enough, I'll tell my friends. You know what I think? Oh my God, I'm going to vomit when I hear that.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, though, isn't it?
Yeah, human nature.
Yep. So, when you started up, you started without any of that help from scratch, just built it up slowly over time. Did you start with Yellow Pages, or did you start straight in with one of those options like High Pages and Bizzer? Or
no, I don't think Bizzer was around then, and
it wouldn't have been.
Not much aware of the Facebook groups, like the one in the Hunter in Newcastle and whatnot.
Well, I think they've only just started up more recently too.
Yeah, so there wasn't any of that help around where you could pass leads around to guys looking for work.
Yeah.
So I looked into it, and I did a letterbox drop in a certain area. That was a complete failure. It was like about a 0.3% callback rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't cheap. I thought, okay, you've got to try these things. Then I did AdWords, and that was actually when I built the company on AdWords. Worked out well, even though I think it was back then it was like $1.50 a click. Like somebody Google lawn mowing Carrington or whatever, your ad would be at the top, right?
Yeah.
Of the first Google page. So they'd click on that.
Yep.
And then that'd take you to your website, right? That might be $1.50, $2, but you might get 5 clicks, but actually one phone call. But that was $7.50 or something, but they actually want their lawn done. So that went very well. That's what I mainly used. But I did do Yellow Pages. That wasn't too much happy with that.
Yeah. I found just having a Google My Business listing been quite effective. But when you do a My Business listing, it only gives you the option of doing one location, I think. If you try and spread it too
that's
far.
my problem. You see, I'm pretty well up there on the top in Rama Terrace, like Lawn Rama Terrace.
Yeah.
Right? On the Google page, like,
yep.
And that doesn't cost me anything. But the thing is, I'm trying to build it up more in Newcastle.
Yeah, so building it up in Newcastle when your address for the business is not there, you got to
pay. So I shouldn't really build it up, but I prefer to work in Newcastle because there's smaller lawns and you get more of a break in between jobs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better. But I've only got probably, all going well, just one more season to go, like next year, early to middle of next year, I'd like to retire.
Okay, yeah.
Early retirement. As long as the share market keeps going the way it is, I'll be happy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And it's looking pretty stable at the moment. So
it is. Yeah. Hoping for that. But I would miss it.
My son was asking me yesterday about putting money in shares, and he says, "Dad, do you reckon I should put money in index shares?"
That would be the way to go. That's the safest way to go.
Well, you got two options, Isaac. You can listen to the people who are paid to tell you what to do, or you can try and find people who are not paid to tell you what to do. And you might have to pay them directly to get that sort of advice. But if you look at the people who talk about it from afar and they haven't been getting a commission from telling you what they think, they say index shares.
Yeah, that's the safest bet. And rather than go through a managed fund where you're paying them, as we were talking the other day, 1% normally. Yep. Say if you put 100,000 or 50,000 in, they'll take 1% of the amount you've got in there as the management fee. Whereas you can just open up a share trading account with any of the big four banks, right, for free, deposit your money in there, and then you can go and buy an index fund. It's like something like about 0.14% or something management fee each year, which is a fraction. That could be 10% of your actual return that you're saving.
My son found one that he said charges a $3 fee per transaction. And he said, it doesn't matter whether it's a $10 transaction or a $100,000 transaction, it's a $3 fee. And I said, just be wary of that one, because you might find that when you do a $100,000 transaction, they hold your money until it's in their favour to do the transaction.
Yep.
But I won't mention any names there because I don't want to be accused of giving people advice for financial decisions.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. But I think over the years I've found the index is the safest bet.
Yeah.
Rather than individual shares normally.
Yeah.
Because you might think, I'll do my self-managed super fund, right? But then you get tempted. To buy individual shares. Oh, this is going to go up, right? But then they go belly up. So sooner or later, you lost half your money. Whereas the index just plods along over time at about 8.5% or so.
Yeah. So people who give advice and they tell you where to put your shares, what shares to buy and when to sell, on average, they don't do as well as an index fund.
That's right. Yeah. I've been doing a bit of reading about it because that's what I want to have my money in later on, just a nice safe index fund. And they came out, it might have been the Sydney Morning Herald or the Australian, like one of those reputable ones supposedly. They said 75% of the managed funds didn't beat the index. You know what I mean? So the index, like the ASX 200, they'll buy, they'll put all your money in the top 200 companies and just leave it there, basically, right?
Yeah.
They've performed better than the 75% of people who are charging you 1%.
It makes you question superannuation, doesn't it? The only benefit with superannuation over that is the lower tax rate.
Yeah, exactly. The ones who do benefit are the management companies.
Yeah,
the large funds.
Yep, they're taking it home, that's for sure.
You've got to have the money. A lot of people don't have the money, like independent contractors. That's the last thing on their mind, to put money into super. I was fortunate. I was with One Store for many years. And they paid very good super. So there's not everybody can. If some are starting out, some have got injuries or whatever, or the mortgage has gone up. So the super, that's last on the bloody line when it comes to paying bills, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess this is one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast, and I've been doing it for 2.5 years now, but it's so that people who are starting out or people who are in business listening to you and I talking get to think about things that they might otherwise not have thought about, and they get to go, okay, we can see the bigger picture. Where do we want our lawn care business or our gardening business to be aiming so that it does what it needs to do instead of just scraping by?
Yeah, exactly. My big jump in profitability is when I was put an employee on. I'd been going 5 years by myself, and I was getting tired, with the heat some days and whatnot. And I had a full run, right? I was doing 5 days a week, had a full run, and people asked me, "Oh, can you just do the hedge?" And I thought, "Oh, that was like, the straw that broke the camel's back." For me at that age, can I just do the hedge on a stinking hot day? I'm knackered. I'm ready to go home. I thought I kept knocking the regular clients back on the smaller tasks that they want me to do periodically. So I thought, bugger this, I've got to put an employee on. But I've heard so many stories of unreliability, and it's just stressful and whatnot. So I hired this guy through one of those employment agencies where they subsidise them for 6 months.
Yeah, so would it be Castle personnel?
Not necessarily Castle. I think there's a lot of different employment agencies that do it.
The Castle is the one that I used way back when I started my business and I first needed an employee. It was Castle personnel that helped me find someone. And they had that sort of a scheme back then. And anyway, like you say, there's plenty of them.
But this one was like, I forget what it was. It was like 3/4 of his wage, as long as I gave him 20 hours a week for 6 months.
Yeah, that's good.
So I went in and I met this guy. So, I'm loyal, mate, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, yeah, we'll see. So I took it, signed the papers, right?
Yeah.
I thought, God, what happens if it doesn't pan out? Because he signed on. Is he just going to be sitting in the ute, drinking ice water and coffee and whatnot? But anyway, it took a little while to train him to be like efficient on the whippersnipper. Like the mower's the easy part. Like there are different things, but a lot of people think lawn mowing, anyone can do that. But to be efficient and do a good job, it takes training. So it took about a month or 2 to get him spot on. Like without me having to tell him, oh, you missed a bit, or do it this way, or do it that way.
Yeah.
But he's been with me 3.5 years now, believe it or not.
So that first employee has actually worked out really well.
Yes, the first one I got, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And he was my first one. And I've heard so many people and I tried 7 different people before him, right? Before I decided to go this job subsidy way.
Yeah.
Right? And they were like, oh no, they were making all sorts of excuses. And it was just like, I just got the impression that they needed a couple of days' work because their car rego was due. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then what the problem is, once you build your run up, you built it up for yourself. You've got plenty of work for yourself, and then you've taken this employee on. You feel obliged, not just to give him work sporadically, but keep him going with work. So you build the business up so there's enough work for 2 of you, right? But then what happens? I know so many blokes, and you probably everybody else knows how it goes with the reliability, and then they can't make it today, or they just don't phone. You've got all these lawns to do.
Yep.
I couldn't imagine anything worse,
Yeah. It put you off employing somebody.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So a lot of blokes, with good reason, they just stay by themselves. But if you get lucky and treat them well, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, 99% of it is luck. And the other 1% is treating them and respecting them and buying them a coffee or a sandwich, or show that you appreciate them, pay them a bit above award. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as they're not a slacker, of course.
All the things that give them the reason.
Yeah, and he feels appreciated, you know what I mean? Yeah, so 3.5 years he's been with me. I've been very lucky.
That's great.
Yeah, but I couldn't tolerate. I'd be because I'm 62 and I joined the miserable bastard club when I was 50, right? I wouldn't have the patience for someone ringing up like I've got a fully built up run, right?
Yeah.
And we've got 12 or 16 lawns or whatever to do, and you can't make it today. I'm a bit hungover or whatever, or I'm going to the beach, it's a nice day. I'd say I'd get rid of my run, even if I just give them away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. rather than deal with that.
Go through all that stress. And I hear blokes on the Facebook groups all the time about the blokes not turning up and they're stressed out. You know what I mean? I thought, really, I just do not want to go through that. Is the money, depends what financial position you're in, is that extra stress worth it? Because to me, you need to be reasonably happy going to work. You don't want to dread going to work. Whereas if I had all those lawns on and they didn't turn up, I would actually dread it. And then I'd dread the next week coming up. Is he going to turn up to go to work? So I can understand both parties when people would want to be sole operators and also people who want to expand. I find the sweet spot is two people. If you've got a reliable guy, well, let's say I might be sore in the shoulder one day, so I'll get on the push mower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Self-propelled rather, or he's feeling this way, so we'll swap around and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, it's good having someone to joke with and have a joke with you.
This is probably the number one question that plagues people once they go from, I want to run a lawn care business to, hang on a minute, I need to consider how big I grow the business. And that's getting around the idea of having an employee. And I was talking to somebody about this earlier today, exactly this issue, and going, okay, if I can find somebody to talk to in my podcast that has the answers to these questions, it's going to really hit the right nerve with people listening to the podcast.
Well, I think it's a great thing to discuss for people considering either which way to go. You know what I mean? But it is a lottery, I think, from my experience, finding someone that's going to stick around. Right.
So your tip would be to use an employment agency because they've done half the filtering for you.
Yes, plus it's less risk financially. Right? Because they're only going to be working half as efficient as you are to start with.
Well, right? Definitely.
To start with, for, let's say, a month or two, right? So you're definitely not making any money out of him, right? So that covers his wage, at least. You know what I mean? And there's all these other things like superannuation, workers' comp. But I do most of the things myself, like the administration and whatnot. But there are some things, because I use QuickBooks now, which is utterly fantastic for invoicing, and then I'll reconcile and I'll invoice, right? I'll send the invoices out. I hook the bank feed up that feeds into QuickBooks, so that's got the information, who's paid and who hasn't. But all the other stuff with QuickBooks, I get a virtual bookkeeper to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Like all the technical stuff, like the BAS, superannuation. They do all the BAS. I'll send me the report. This is how much you pay. Okay, done deal. I'll just pay the ATO. And they'll just send me their bill, and that's deducted automatically. Same with they sort of set all the superannuation up for my employee. And that's deducted automatically as well. They'll send me a statement. This is the amount he's earned. This is the amount of super, right? It'll be deducted automatically out of your bank account on such and such a date. So I don't have to do anything with it. So
when you decided to do this, I went down a different path. I went and found an accountant that could do all my bookkeeping side of the work for me, right?
Right.
And they cover everything from advice on how to run the business through to doing the bookkeeping, which is awesome. But what you've done, you've found a virtual assistant who's qualified to be able to handle.
Yeah, they're based in Queensland. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they charge in 5-minute increments. And just because they're virtual doesn't mean they're uncontactable. I've got phone numbers for them. They answer the phone.
Yeah.
They answer emails. You know what I mean? So they're human beings. They're not off in India or China or wherever.
That's the first question with a virtual assistant is, are they in the Philippines? Are they in India? Are they in China?
They're not. No, they're Queenslanders. Yeah. But they service all over Australia. And they're very reasonable. I think it was only about 70 an hour, or it might have gone up a bit now to 75 or something like that. That's for the ones who do the BAS and whatnot. Just the basic general bookkeeping, that was even cheaper.
Okay.
So if I've got a query, your lawn contractors might have a minimum of $30 or whatever for a postage stamp, or you know what I mean. They'll bill you 5 minutes. It's something very brief. You know what I mean?
That's pretty good, isn't it? So that's like $8 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, a lot of this stuff, like with the bass, I could be sitting here for hours trying to figure it all out, whereas I'm earning bloody good money mowing lawns, right?
Yep.
I'd rather concentrate on that,
Yeah.
right? And let these people who are actually earning, well, now they've got 2 employees actually earning less. So I'd rather mow a lawn than spend 2 or 3 times the length of time, because they can do it in a flash. So you really got to look at that, I think, like outsourcing.
Let's put a dollar amount on this, right? If you're looking at you, the CEO of Steve Dahlin, you're worth $200 an hour. And we're just making that up, right? You might be worth $100 an hour when you're hedge trimming or whatever, but you're not just hedge trimming. You're also sitting at home creating the business. You're also chasing the leads. You're also organising the schedule. You're chasing the mower shop to get things fixed or doing the repairs yourself. All those things mean that you're worth $200 an hour.
Well,
your employee.
I wish I was getting paid that.
Yeah, but if you can farm out some of those jobs to an employee, and I'll just throw it out there, say $30 to $35 an hour, that's going to be around the award or a little bit above the award, depending on where they're at.
When you look at you have to include super and workers' comp. That's why.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
When I do my day book, right, I write down my income, or total income, right?
Yeah.
But I don't include GST in that, right?
Okay,
Then I'll include what his labour is costing me, right? So I've got a lot better idea of how I've travelled that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were saying about the 35. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so if you're worth $200 an hour and your employee's worth $35 an hour, and let's say if you're going above award and you're throwing in superannuation and workers' comp on top of that, you might be paying $45 an hour by the time you add it up. That's still a lot cheaper for that employee to be out there working than for you to be out there working. So any job which you don't need to be there for, then you're better off financially by having an employee doing some of the work for you. And if it's virtual bookkeeping or whether
you're
it's
the brains of the operation,
on the tools too.
You'd be more valuable, the owner, as you say, the CEO would be more valuable doing all the thinking and planning.
Steve, I've lost you. It says I'm offline.
I've lost you. You there?
Yeah, my internet connection seems to be playing up.
Yeah, offline. You there, back again?
Hey, hello.
Hello. You there?
Tell me if you can hear me.
Oh, now I can.
Still
You're
stumbling here.
amber. No, you're green. Strong signal I've got.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me? All good.
Steve, you there?
Yes, man. Yep. Hello.
Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money, season after season. We were talking about the profitability of having an employee doing things for you, like your bookkeeping, or even how much more profitable it is to have an employee working for you on the tools.
Yep.
Because there's jobs that the employees can't do that you have to do, but where you can pay an employee, it's usually more profitable to have somebody that's not worth the same amount per hour as you doing those jobs.
There is, but you're talking about letting them go out on their own?
Well, in your situation, you've got him working with you, right? So he works as an outsider.
Yeah. But there are occasions when I've had... See, I think it'd be a completely different ballgame once you let employees out on their own.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that is different, very different.
I've found a 1 in 100 that turns up every day and has a go, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got to go and find the 1 in 1,000 that'll work as efficiently as you and thinks like you. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess what you're looking for there, if you go back to your One Steel days, you're looking for that person who's supervisor material, who's management material, who you can then go, okay, he's going to be responsible for looking after another employee or a couple of employees.
But that's the big problem, though, right? A guy like that is going to be like us. He's going to be an owner of a business. He's going to say, he's going to get wind of what you're charging, right?
Yep.
And he's going to think, well, why am I working for $30 or $35 an hour when I could be getting double that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I do think you'll find people that will do it, though, because if you look at the fact that that person was at One Steel doing exactly that, he didn't go out on his own and run his own business to start with. He was at One Steel, and he took that option for a reason. Yeah,
there are different personalities where you want to be an employer or do you just want to be an employee. You're happy plodding along, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
so if you can find them.
Yeah, if you get them, you keep hold of them, treat them well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think what we're identifying with you is that it's a really interesting point that employees are worthwhile. And for your business, the best way to do that is to have your employee working beside you. And that gives you good control over what's happening in the business, flexibility to be able to increase the amount of work you take on and the type of work that might be a bit more physical than you want to do all on your own.
Yeah. But I'll tell you about people working on their own. I met I think he was from VIP or gyms or something. VIP he was up I was marrying a nursing home up at Rutherford, but I ran into this guy and I was having a chat to him and he had another setup on the road, right? And just an employee, but he was working by himself. They were both working by themselves, two different rigs. I said, how do you pay him? He said, I pay him 50% of what the yard's worth, right? And I thought, that's a bloody good idea, you know?
Yeah.
But what he did, he miscalculated because he was paying, he forgot about the GST when he told him what he's going to be on, right?
So he's paying the GST.
He's paying, let's say, an $80 lawn, right? Well, that's plus GST is 88, right? So he would pay them he would pay him $44, right? But he didn't realise when he first came up with the idea that he should have been giving him 50% of $80 and just ignoring them. So taking the GST out of the equation because now he's only getting $36 out of the
32.
What is it? No, let's say the lawn's 80 plus GST.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Actually,
and he gave him 44. Well, the guy is only the franchisee or whoever, the operator. He's getting $80 minus 44, which is $36.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a 10% drop in revenue just by doing that. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas he should have said, "I'll give you half or whatever."
Half is after GST, not including GST.
Yeah, not including GST. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting how other people think about all this, like staying low.
I've heard of a few people that do that, similar to that, where they have an employee working on their own, but the way they motivate them is they put that employee in a position where they are profit sharing, or the employee becomes a subcontractor and has their own business, and they split the profit that way.
Yeah, because I think to have them on their own, you're right. They have to have some sort of incentive. You know what I mean? To keep going and keep doing a good job. Like imagine if they did a shitty job and you lost 20% of your business. You know, customers started giving you the flick. You know, what's to become of that? You're going to have nothing left if they don't do a quality job. And how do you check that? Do you do, okay, I'm going to do a spot check one day, you know?
Yeah.
Ring the clients up and how's everything going? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So if you have a manager in an office looking after 15 employees, then the manager's responsible for looking after quite a number of employees. But if you're doing that on the scale of a lawn care gardening business, you might have a team leader, which is the equivalent of a manager, who's only looking after one other employee or maybe two at the most. Unless you've got big commercial sites where you can put half a dozen employees or 10 employees in one site, then the team leader is not as efficient as when they're in charge of a bigger team.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you don't. It only makes sense if you employed him, say, 1 day a week, which is impractical. You know what I mean? If you've only got one or two crews, whereas if you've got 10 crews or 10 rigs, then it makes some sense to justify this guy's wage and having him on 40 hours a week in an office.
Well, the other thing is if you've got a team leader or a manager in charge of employees, their job is to make sure the employees are efficient.
Yeah.
Make sure they're getting the work done. Whereas if that team leader is in charge of themselves and one or two other employees, then they very quickly lose the motivation to be efficient.
Yeah. So that's where you got to go and work out the pay, you know.
Because their labour becomes their predominant focus rather than the efficiency of the people working with them.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? The way people think and the luck they have with employees, because I couldn't handle the stress of a crew of 10 people when they're ringing up sick and whatnot. And what do you do with them in winter? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, you've got to be able to keep them busy through winter because you can't expect them to hang around.
Yeah, because my guy's casual, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't pay him. There's no work to do with the rain, right?
Yep.
But he's happy with that because I've explained to him you're a lot better off on a casual wage, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you don't take sickies, right? And we get a lot of time off in winter, right?
Yep.
And also we only work 4 days a week, so you're getting a 3-day weekend, so you don't really need holidays. So your pay's a lot higher than you would be if you were a permanent employee.
That's right. So how have you gone? Because you said 3.5 years you've had this guy on. How have you gone with him through winter?
Oh, good. I try a lot of the time. I'll try and go away on holidays.
Yeah.
Like last year, I went to Vietnam. Like I was off for 5 weeks, so he'll go out by himself while I'm doing that. And then because I earn good money in summer and whatnot, well, plus the missus works, I can afford not to work as much in winter.
Yeah.
Like so, I don't lay him off. Like a lot of single operators, if they've got a bloke with them in summer, they'll say, "Okay, that's it. There's not much work because I need the money."
Yeah,
to pay the bills,
right.
which is fair enough, and most probably the case.
Yep.
But I can afford to not work as much in winter, and I would rather prefer to give him the work. So I'm still making money out of it, right? Not as much, obviously.
Yep.
But the main thing is to keep him in a dollar.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise I'll be screwed come summer if he quits. You know.
And that's something. If you get to that stage in business where you go, okay, I've been solo, but I've got more work available, you've really got to be able to answer that question is, do you prioritise keeping your employee in a job through winter? If you don't, then you're going to be bouncing from employee to employee every season.
Yeah, and that's when you do that, you've got inefficiencies, right?
A lot.
You're chasing your tail. It probably wouldn't be worth the effort.
You can spend a full season training an employee to the point where they're actually efficient, and then if you lose them in winter, you're back to square one.
Yeah, exactly right. You know.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just try and look after them. You know, keep them in money during the winter.
Yeah, definitely.
But even because over at Stockton, it's like out of our way off the run. But he does a few lawns over there by himself. They're on the books. So I'll say, okay, you're doing it, pay an hour for that one because it's on his way home. Around the corner from where he lives.
Yep.
And I'll say I'll pay an hour for that one, even if it might take 30 or 35 minutes. That's fine, right?
Yeah.
But there might be cashies, small cashies or whatever, out of my way over his area. So he'll take the mower on his ute, right?
Yeah.
And so you just keep the money, mate.
Yep.
He said, "Oh, are you sure? I'll give you what you pay me." I said, "No, just you keep the money.
No,
it's a
it's
bit
good.
of a bonus."
Yeah.
He said, "Oh," so he's very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Bumps his pay up a bit.
That helps him a lot.
Yeah, it's just one of the things you can do, I suppose.
Yeah. So while we're talking about things like that, it's reminding me that I want to know what your rig looks like. So when you're doing in the Newcastle, you're probably using the self-propelled push mower for all the jobs in there, I'm guessing. Do you use a ride-on in there?
Funnily enough, I do use a ride-on as well, because there are some larger yards on the outskirts. It's not necessarily like the Junction, Cooks Hill, Hamilton. I go out as like probably Lambton, New Lambton, Jesmond, all the way out there, Shortland. But I do use it. Even in Waratah, I use it on a couple. One lady's got a huge block.
Yeah.
So I'd be buggered without it. So I do still take all the gear. If I was to have a ute, just a ute only, or some guys use a van, then I'd be targeting like the nature strips in Cooks Hill, Bar Beach, the Junction, Merriweather, because all those areas are horrendous for parking. Because they're all well hurled, right? And there's always, because they got the money, they're always doing renovations. So particularly Merriweather and the Junction, there's builders everywhere, right? They got trucks and trailers, and you can never get a park. And I remember one day in Cooks Hill, I was doing a job. I had to double park because I had the trailer. I couldn't get into their driveway.
Yeah.
$245 later, on a $60 job, that was years ago, right? $240, $45 for double parking. But there was a furniture van parked up the road, double parking, the same thing, unloading gear. So what about this guy? Well, he has to park there. So we'll say to why, because there's no parking. $245. I said, I'll wipe that off in the run. Cooks Hill and those and Merriweather areas.
Yeah.
It's just unprofitable for me.
Now you can fit a ride-on in a van, so there are options like that.
Yeah. He's got I think it might be a 42, and he drives it up a ramp in the back, and then he puts his slide mower in the side door, passenger side door.
I've done that with the Renault Traffic, the 42-inch straight in the back of it.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I used to have the Great Wall V240 Ute, grossly underpowered. Right?
Yeah.
But then I bought my wife a new car and I swapped to our family Ford Territory. And I thought that's a 4-litre petrol engine. That was great towing-wise.
Yeah.
But it just didn't really have the room in it.
Yeah.
A great deal of room. Then I got rid of that and I bought can't bloody think, LDV T60. I bought that. It was only about 2 years old for $26,000 and it had the whole box and dice already on it. Tow bar, big fiberglass canopy, had the slide-out drawers in the back. It had everything, for $26,000. It tows fantastically. It's more economical than the Great Wall was. I'm saving money there because it's diesel.
Yep.
I'm so happy with it, and I've got with the canopy, people shun their nose up at it, but the side windows pop up. Right, and the back window, and then you've got the tailgate. But you've also got, what I do is I put 60-litre plastic bins in the back for all different bits and pieces. You might have weed spray in one, like your chemicals, liquids, oils, PPE in another, gardening, pruning stuff in one bin. Then you've still got enough room up the middle to put longer stuff in. And then I've got all the rest of the gear. I've got the ride-on. I've got an Adam edger I keep. Then I've got we take 2 whippersnippers with us, plus the long articulated hedger. We put that on the Catch Pro whippersnipper rack.
Yep.
That's a fantastic bit of gear, that is.
Yeah.
To give them a plug, but it's built like a brick shed house, And also
I'm quite happy to give them a plug. I think that they're worthwhile. And there are a couple of brands around, but certainly Ben from Catch Pro's got the good ones there.
I got onto it through the Facebook group, the Mowing Facebook group. And they're not cheap, but you get what you pay for, and they are built very solidly. I haven't had an ounce of trouble, and you can lock them up. If I stop off at Woolies on the way home or whatever, I can just lock the things up. Otherwise, they're gone in 5 minutes around Roma Terrace or anywhere for that matter, all my gear. But no, they're great, and I've also got the whippersnipper spool on the side. mounted on the mud flap of the trailer, which is
nice.
great. Everything's so accessible, you know.
Yep. That's a time saver, that one.
I do see some guys around in utes and they're lifting the mower on and off. I think, my God, your back's going to be stuffed. I try and do things the easy way.
Even if you've got a battery-powered push mower, self-propelled mower, it's still lifting it on and off that many times a day. It's going to be bad for your back.
It wouldn't be good, yeah. And you've got to look after your back it's not only your health, but it's your income as well. Yep. You know, so I don't even do gutters for the simple reason, well, what happens if you fall off the bloody ladder? No more work for God knows how long. Yep. You know, so I won't do that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I'll be 47 in a minute, and that's I know my back's been giving me curry for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on and off. It's just one of those things. It's like, okay, I've got to be mindful of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Not invincible.
Well, my big thing is my shoulder, so that's why I've got the Echo 2-stroke trimmers. Yeah. They're very lightweight.
Yeah, okay.
So you've got to look at what gear you're using.
Yep, for sure.
And we were using a HRX 217. They were so light and manoeuvrable, it was unbelievable. Yeah. But the transmissions, because we gave them an absolute flogging, they start to go after a while. I was sick of buying new ones, and they were too dear to fix.
Yeah,
because it was like $800 for a new transmission. Plus
labour.
Steep. It is a bit way too much. If it was a few hundred, I'd go and get them fixed. But I got about 3 or 4 of them sitting around, so I finally bit the bullet and went for the HRU. Yep. My God, it's like driving a bloody tank compared to the HRX, that is. but the power, oh my God, there's some like thick, damp lawns. I'd probably, if they're a bit overgrown, with the HRX, I probably would have mowed it twice. You know, one a bit higher and then one a bit lower. But this HRX, it powers through. And
so the HRU does, yeah.
Yeah, the HRU rather, and it just powers through, and the chute rarely blocks up compared to what the HRX was. They've both got their good and bad points.
Yeah. The HRU has been the industry standard for as long as I can remember. But yeah, they certainly got their good and bad points.
Yeah. But with the HRX was variable speed, right? Yeah. And I'd had it set, I'd say make sure you put it in. So the lever, it wasn't in stages, it was just a free-flowing lever like your forward ground speed. Yeah. So you'd have that on flat out, and I'd adjust the cable so it's going full bore, like your forward speed. But I've noticed he's got it in second gear a lot of the time because of the manoeuvrability. Because you can back, if you're on the HRX, because of the variable speed, if you're doing a corner or around a tree or something, you can adjust it like to 1 mile an hour or 2 miles an hour or 5 minutes just in the blink of an eye. Whereas the HRU, it's on or it's off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. So because he's more comfortable in second gear.
Yep.
So we were doing a bigger yard today.
Yeah.
Or a tower. I was looking at him. I thought, geez, it's going to take a while. Went over and looked, and I said, I held my fingers up, 3 fingers. You're in 3. And he thought I was talking about the height. I said, no, mate, the gear. Yeah. You're still stuck in second gear. He said, yeah, second gear. I said, put it in the bloody third, will you? So I thought, this is going to go over budget, this one. So you've just got to get used to choosing which lawn to have it in third and which lawn to have it in second. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's not like the variable speed HRX. You've actually got to stop if you want to retain your bloody machine. You've got to stop and change the gear and then chop up again.
Yeah. It's a bit of a pain.
It's a different kettle of fish. It's a lot tighter when you're going around obstacles and whatnot. It's a lot heavier machine to deal with.
Yeah. Yep.
Than the HRX. But I'll tell you what, but when it came to mulching, the HRX was a dream. It had the twin blades, the big long blades.
Yeah, the big bar blades.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it had been mowed with a mulching mower. You know, you would have thought the bagger on it was that good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been told by a lot of people. The HRX is the best self-propelled push mower for bagging. For mulching, sorry.
For mulching, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the ride-on you use at the moment?
Well, I started off with a Toro MX 4250 when I first did the run.
Tractor?
No, that's a zero turn.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Toro MX 4250, and it had the fabricated deck, not the pressed metal.
Yep.
Right, so I went what I thought was the good gear, but that's a good starting mower when you're starting out.
Yeah.
And it's not full commercial, which is it was a great machine. But what happened 2 years after I bought it, the starter motor went, and it was just before Christmas, and I had, at that stage, 50% of my lawns were ride-on jobs, all my income. Right? And they said, oh, it'll be 6 weeks for a new one. It's got to come from Japan.
For a starter motor.
Yeah,
was that in the middle of COVID?
No, it'd be a long time before that.
Okay. Wow.
So anyway, that would have stuffed my business pretty well. Right?
Yeah.
So they had a Ferris's there. So I bought a brand new Ferris for 7,000 back then. Now they're about 10 or 11. But that's the best machine I've had. It's absolutely fantastic, the quality of it.
Yeah.
It's a great machine. But
so similar size deck?
Same size deck. My brother-in-law, when I first started, ran up, you should get a 48 52 inch. I thought, no, I want to try and get him some gates and whatnot,
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad I did, the spaces I can get it into and save time, And then I've got I've had that, probably 5 or 6 years now.
I think that 42-inch size really is still a benchmark in Australia as the best size for doing particularly older residential suburbs where you've got that room to move around.
Yeah, as long as you can get in the yard and whatnot, they're great. But
you're talking tighter properties, then a 32 is going to make it so magic. But certainly areas you're talking about, the 42 would just be the best compromise in terms of efficiencies.
Yeah, and then I've got the advanced chute system on it, the side chute, the flapper.
Yeah.
So I'll mulch most of them.
Yep.
And go in a rotating direction.
Yeah.
So rotate to the right, clockwise. Right. So you've got
a
little bit of a grass trail, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But every time you go around, that's moved over. So if you finally got a bit of grass in the middle, so you just open the chute, lift the deck a little, open the chute up, and out she goes.
Yeah.
And you haven't got all that grass to deal with if you're catching, and the time and effort to empty it and whatnot. I know the walkers don't take a long time. You just dump them if they've got the high dump lift. But you're looking at 40 grand or so for that sort of setup, maybe more now.
Yep, I think up to $50,000 if you go the high dump with the full setup.
Yeah. You get what you pay for. They're a bloody good machine, but what I've heard before, the parts are very expensive, so it's a different ballgame. You've got to have the work for it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it comes down to that age-old question: do you catch or do you mulch? And between you and I, if you've got customers that want it done one way or another, then you're probably going to lean that way at the end of the day.
Yeah, you've got to be versatile all the way up the dollars. Like, how productive is it? You know what I mean? You got
so if you catch at the moment, you would push mow rather than ride on?
I don't. If a large lawn had to be caught, I just gave them a quote they wouldn't be able to jump over.
Yeah.
Because I've got to earn X amount that I'm happy with.
Yep.
Like, what was it, 8.5 years ago, I started off, I was sticking to my guns that it was going to be 60 an hour at least. Right?
Yeah.
And I've put that up 3% every year since then.
Yep.
It's funny, when you don't put your rates up. I come across some quotes. There was a lady in Lambton that was Hill Street. And of course, it was like, block was on a bloody 45-degree angle, a lot of it, like the front yard part.
Yeah.
And she said, the last guy was charging me 50. He was a police officer, but he doesn't want to do it anymore. Like, he's been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I said, look, I bet she hasn't put the price up in
the whole time.
10 years, the whole time. And she said, no, he hasn't. I said, I wouldn't touch this for less than 75. It was mainly the front that was on an angle.
Yeah.
2 tiny bits of backyard and a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I quoted 75, and she seemed to think I was genuine and honest. So she accepted that, but it's not too bad. You mow it sideways. You're not pushing the mower up and down hill, are you?
So,
I should say my side of mows it.
So do you catch any of the smaller yards then? Or you mulch everything?
Now that we've got the the HRU, because it doesn't mulch as well. So what we normally do, we'll just bag them all in Newcastle.
Yep.
Because they've all got the green bins, but now in Raymond Terrace here, in Port Stephens Council, they've got the green bins as well.
Yeah.
So, and it really packs it into the catcher, so you're not emptying your catcher that often either, even though you are catching it.
Yeah, so on those smaller properties in Newcastle, you're not going to fill their green bin with one run anyway.
No. So I've got actually one street, I've got 5 small jobs in a row, just the frontages.
Yeah.
And just around the corner from them, I've got 4 in a row.
Yeah.
They're only cheap jobs, but they're bloody good coin doing it like that.
So if you're doing 200 square metres of lawn and you're doing it regularly, then you'd probably half fill a green bin if you're lucky. Whereas if you go up to a property that's a quarter acre property or, even 600-700 square metre property, you probably start going, okay, we're getting close to filling a green bin if it's growing fast.
Yeah, well, I've got one to do. They're moving out tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Handing the new tenants are getting the keys. I couldn't make it today or yesterday because I was working in Newcastle, so I've got to be there at like 7:30 tomorrow. But that hasn't been only 3 weeks, and it's Kikuyu. And I said, look, I'm going to have to re-quote it. She said, it doesn't matter, just charge what you got to charge. But I know full well that green bin from empty is going to be chock-a-block, you know.
Yeah.
But with the weight in it, to take that grass away, it would cost a bloody fortune,
That's right.
And that if you don't even factor the time and effort going out the tip, that is, just.
It's one thing if you're quoting $120 to do a job, but if you're all of a sudden quoting $400 to do the same job, they might have said, yeah, just do whatever you need to do, but they will question that when it goes up by 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah, it won't be that much, but I said, it might take 50% longer. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a decent sized yard, so it's about 100, so I'd reckon tops 150, it won't be that bad. And the HRU will power through it with the offsider doing it because we've only got the one mower. So I'll snip and then he'll mow. But because I'm finished so quickly, I'll be warming up the air conditioner in the car. But I'll make sure he brings his Segway tomorrow because it's a nice big flat yard so he can jump on the Segway and put it in third gear.
Yeah.
I keep telling him what a good boss I am by buying him that.
Boy. So how many lawns does he get done on a Segway?
Oh, a lot quicker and less fatigued.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, you still got to drive there. Even if you do, if you do 30 or 40% quicker, right? Well, that's just the mowing side, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You still got your snipping, you still got your blowing, you still got your transport to get there and the next job. Yep. So it doesn't, because you're on a Segway, it is quicker, right? You might save 5 or 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But the main thing for me was because his ankles get sore.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just hereditary or whatever, and he was limping around, so I thought, I'd better do something. Yeah. That's when I saw this guy on YouTube ages ago. I remember that. This guy with a Mexican hat in America somewhere, whizzing along this 200-metre long footpath with a snipper. I thought, shit, wouldn't mind giving that a try. So I had a look on the net. Wow, they're on special, $8.99, right? $899.
Yep.
I'll give that a whack. So I ordered one in an hour or two, practicing at home at his place in the back lane behind where he lives. He was a whiz at it. And we had people stop and they take videos and photos of it, and he feels like he gets his 15 minutes of fame and he's less fatigued at the end of the day. Yeah. The tiny little ones, or the ones with a lot of obstacles you wouldn't bother with. But the bigger lawns, that's where it's mostly handy for him. He's not as fatigued at the end of the day.
Yep.
Which is good.
That's what I was wondering is what percentage of lawns does he get away with using it on?
Probably, I'd say 50% at least. Yeah, at least 50%. And some are better than others. Some it doesn't go too well in the really thatchy lawns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit of thatch there, that's fine, but it does tend to bog down. But I think it's got a weight limit of 100 kilos, and he's about 110, but it hasn't batted an eyelid. You get these Chinese knockoffs that wouldn't last 5 minutes, but they're a fraction of the price, whereas you pay the good money. He's had it, I think, about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And there's not one fault with it.
That's great. I guess the thing you weigh up when you're looking at expenses like this is that labour is your biggest expense. And if you're talking third rules, so for $100 worth of work, $30 is going towards labour, $30 is going towards other expenses, and $30 is left over for your profit, right? So one third, one third, one third. If you get it right, if your labour is a third of your expense, it's worth investing in those tools that make the labour more efficient.
Oh God, you reap the benefits,
Yeah.
Over time you do.
Even when the tool might be a little bit left of centre, like using a Segway behind a bushmower.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But we do some jobs over at Kooragang, and because he doesn't just use it for mowing, he whippersnips with it as well. Yeah. And he does the blower vac. But over there, it must be nearly 200 metres bloody long, this footpath we do, like where we've mowed. Yeah. And the Segway can do 20 kilometres an hour, believe it or not. But he goes full whack with a little two-stroke hand blower, right? Because we don't use the backpacks. I think they're too heavy, but, they do a great job, but too heavy for me. But he'll whiz along that. It's amazing to see him flying along. Yeah. But you probably wouldn't do it in front of a police station.
Yeah, but I think if you've got an adult on a footpath on a device, then it could potentially upset the police.
Oh, it would, but there is a loophole, and that's it's a mobility aid.
Yes.
I've looked into it. You can actually, you saw these scooters.
Yeah. Mobility scooters.
Mobility scooters. Well, that'd be the same for him.
Yep.
But I have looked at it. All you take going to a doctor and getting a doctor's certificate. Should that happen? Should we get in the poo for it? But there is a loophole. So you say if you're 100% fit, right?
Yep.
You probably wouldn't get away with it if there's no reason. Like, if you had a medical condition like his ankles.
Yep.
Then they'd say, "Oh, okay, let you off."
So hard question for you. The Segway's battery powered. Are you using any other battery powered tools?
Oh God, yes, I am. I bought a Makita Hedger. What a little ripper that is! Yeah. Just
just when you mentioned using the handheld petrol blower, I'm like, okay, you haven't got a battery powered blower.
No, I got a battery. No, not a battery powered blower. I used to have one, the Ego, backpack one.
Oh, yeah.
There was something wrong with it. It was intermittent. The on-off switch had cut out.
Okay,
and I sent it back, and it's all right. And then half an hour later, the same thing's happened. So that's sitting in the garage.
Okay, yeah, that's
so it did work well as it worked. So I've got the Ego battery, and I use that. I bought the chainsaw as well, the battery chainsaw.
Oh, yep.
For the amount of chainsaw, I had a little, what was it, MS 170 or something.
Yeah,
the little chainsaw. That was about 10 years old. That was great.
Yeah.
I thought, bugger, I'll go and get, because they sit for ages when you don't want to hang around using it for ages.
That's where battery's got a distinct advantage over petrol. If it's a tool that sits there and doesn't get used often.
That's the beauty of these pieces of equipment where you're not going to use that often. So I've got the battery chainsaw, the Ego. That's great.
Yeah.
And it's quiet as hell. There's and also with the still, there wasn't any primer bulb.
Yeah, okay.
Pulling the bloody cord 15 times to draw the fuel through. So you're knackered before you've even started it up. But what else? Bought the little still handheld chainsaw, the mini chainsaw.
Oh, yeah, I know which one.
It's like about 6 inch chain or something. They're actually fantastic bit of gear. And you don't have to have two hands. You can just do everything, hold the trigger and the safety switch in the one hand.
As long as you don't put your other hand in the wrong place, then that's good.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you watch where you're cutting. But they don't have a bar oil tank, but you just put a bit of bar oil on and start her up, let the chain run around before you do it, before you make any cuts. But they're a great bit of gear and they don't take up any room.
Yeah.
That's pretty well all I got when it comes to battery gear.
Okay, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if I did ever go to a third employee, that'd be me and two other guys.
Yeah.
I would definitely get a Ego mower or some mower like that, because the beauty of it is, so I've got the ride-on in the back on the 8x5, and then I've got in the mowing box on the front, I've got the push mower, obviously.
Yeah.
You could even put a battery mower, you could even stand it upright, take the catch off,
Yep.
Stand upright if you want, so to take less space on the drawbar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
On the drawbar against the front of the box trailer.
Yeah.
Clamp it on there somehow.
Yeah. It's not so easy to do that with a petrol mower because you're worried about fuel running out of the
right.
cubby
You
or
got your fuel on your oil you don't want to muck around with, and so to push a mower onto a drawbar, it's going to take, it's a lot of width, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
across
right.
the trailer and weight as well. Whereas if you did it with an Ego or some other battery mower, Pelink maybe, you could just set it upright and take up no space at all.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'd be a thought. If next season, if I felt like not working, just walk around with a stopwatch on the guys. I could do something like that. Depends how I feel next summer.
Yeah, if you get to that point where you're like, I'm ready to retire, but I'm not
ready to retire, but I don't have. Yeah, exactly. You're like half and half.
Yeah,
which could be the case.
Could be a good solution.
Yeah.
Then you might get another Segway, so you can sit there on the Segway watching and running around on the Segway while they're busy.
Oh, I've tried it. I bought two actually. I've tried it. I nearly broke my neck, I reckon.
Oh, okay.
Because you steer it with it's got a joystick that comes up to where your knees are or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you jump on with one foot, jump on with the other. But when I jumped on with the other leg onto the platform, then you'd touch the joystick. What happened when you touch the joystick? It moves, it turns.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'd jump on it, but it would do a 180 in about half a second, 180-degree turn. It'd nearly throw me like a bloody bucking bronco. No, bugger this. I've valued my life better than this.
Yep.
But the younger people, they go fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess getting over that initial how you get on and off it without it taking off on you, and once you do that, you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, my balance isn't what it used to be, unfortunately. I'll leave that for the younger ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Steve, we've covered some fairly good ground, and looking at the time, we've been going for probably a little bit under an hour and a half at the moment.
Really?
Just over an hour.
Oh,
we've really covered most of what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Steve, are there any other topics that I've overlooked?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah.
But there's only one other. Talking about health for a minute, I've got to remind everybody to go and get their skin cancer check.
Yes.
I'm a bit behind on mine. I was supposed to do mine in winter, but something wrong with the appointment and whatever. But I've got to go and do mine. I'll keep promising myself I'm going to do it on the next day off. Or it's not easy. I think you've got to book about 3 or 4 weeks in advance. To get in.
It depends where you go, but yeah, it's one of those topics which I've not really covered on the podcast before, and it's well worth making a point to say, you're working out in the sun all day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week for some of us.
Yeah, I had one cut off my arms, about 8 little ones burnt off with a laser.
Yeah.
And a piece out of my nose.
Okay.
Tiny little piece, you wouldn't be able to see it.
No.
But when I talk about a piece burnt off the nose, my uncle, years ago, he had half his nose taken off because of skin cancer.
Yeah.
And then the guy over the road, he got skin cancer, melanoma, right, on the top of his head.
Yep.
5 weeks later, he's dead. He just recently passed away a few weeks ago because it went into his brain.
Yep.
It was too late. So my hat's on about, probably 8:30.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think melanomas, sun cancer, skin cancer, whatever word we've got for it, it's one of those silent killers in terms of you don't know when you get the initial spot on your skin, how long before that starts getting through your body, or like you say, if it's on your head, into your brain or anything. And definitely worth doing your regular preventative checkups.
Yeah, I was very surprised they took a chunk out of my nose. I thought, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have this tiny little chunk that you can hardly see than half my bloody nose ripped off, or even being 6 foot under. So
that's right. I get harassed by family members regularly. Go and get your skin checked. Go and get your skin checked again. Go and do it regularly.
We should really wear long sleeve shirts,
Yeah, you'll find there are a few people I've spoken to that are like, why would you wear short sleeves? I wear long sleeves all the time. Long sleeves and long pants.
Yeah, well, some contractors do. A friend of mine up here at Raymond Terrace, another contractor, he looks like Sir Lawrence Arabia, because the way he's dressed, with all his gear, because he just wants to keep out of that sun,
Yeah,
But
well,
it would be a good idea, but I just find it too hot.
I'm in short sleeves, short pants most of the year
same
round.
as me. Yeah.
But I am very mindful about what I'm doing, and I think one of those things that's worth mentioning at the moment is the type of work that you do will change how much sun you actually get on your skin. So,
what do you do tell?
Well, for me, I'm moving around a lot. Mm-hmm. So I can be outdoors, wearing a full wide brim Akubra hat or whatever I can find to keep the sun off my face, but I'm in short sleeves and short pants. I don't get burnt. But if I go to the beach with my wife, I can only be there for 10 minutes and I'll get burnt if I don't have sunscreen.
I notice exactly the same, because you might go to the beach and you're laying down on the sand or whatever, or even out in the surf, because the sun's reflecting off the water even while you're out there, or it's
you're in one position and you stay there.
You're laying on your back, for argument's sake, right?
Yeah.
And your torso is normally covered up where it's not on the beach. So bang, there you go. And also you've got the sea breeze effect. Oh, it's not hot. It's nice cool sea breeze, You just did not realise you're getting sizzled.
That's right. It's a massive difference, and that's why I say it depends on the type of work that you do, because if you're doing work where you're moving around, it's not so much of a problem. But if you're doing some hand weeding or some other gardening jobs where you're in one position doing the one type of job for a long period of time, even whippersnipping or mowing can have its bad days if you're just doing it for a prolonged period of time, because that section of your leg that's exposed more when you're sitting on the mower, or if you're on a stand-on mower, whatever it is, you'd find just being in one position prolonged amount of time, you start going, I can feel that.
Well, as you say, what position you're in, you imagine hand weeding, like you're sitting there and you've got your head down, so your neck's exposed.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's when I get burnt, is when I'm doing jobs like that where I wouldn't normally be doing it for a prolonged period of time, but then all of a sudden you're like, I've been sitting here for an hour and I'm starting to feel burnt.
Yeah, I don't think I've been burnt. Most of the years I've been mowing, I don't think I've actually come home sunburnt, right? But if I've been laying out by the pool or at the beach, as you say, I've burnt in 5 or 10 minutes,
Yeah, that's right. And my wife hates it because she loves going to the beach, and I'm like, I don't like going to the beach.
Well, then you've got to take a big sun tent, you see the huge big blue and white tents they bring these days? The Esky, the Griswolds, goes to the beach. But you've got to be comfortable.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Hey, Steve, it's been great talking to you. You got any wise words or advice to finish up?
No, keep doing what you're doing, mate. I'm sure people find things or discussions very informative. I think it's great. I wish they had it when I was starting out.
Yeah, me too.
Because I did those things the hard way. Do everything yourself without the knowledge.
Yeah, and I made the same mistakes, started without much help, without a lot of advice. And once the podcast from America started coming out, I was like, this is awesome. I wish they had something that was Australian-based.
Talk about mistakes, especially the people who are just starting out, listening to those terrible quotes that you've made. The shocking quotes, oh my God, I've underpriced this. Oh, what am I going to do here? You've put in this price where you think it's going to take half an hour and then it's taken an hour or even worse. You think, how am I going to get out of this one?
I quoted one
especially if they want it done regularly,
Yeah.
What I've found to be straight up and honest with them, right? Yep. Even though it wasn't my fault that I was working slow or whatever, I was working like I normally did. I did a couple and I just had to fess up and just say, look, I've stuffed up with the quote. I'll be quite happy. This is what I should have charged. Right, I'll do it for this, right? But I wouldn't be able to continue doing it. I'm quite happy for you to go and get other quotes, right?
Yep.
But that's what it would be worth if you wanted me to do it in the future, blah, blah. But I'll tell you what, you don't make too many of those mistakes. Once you've done it, you've earned the absolute crack money after working your ass off, right?
Yep.
And then you sharpen your pencil. You work things out a bit better. Go over in case of under.
The very first job I made that mistake on, it was doing it with a HRU 216. And I looked at the backyard and I was like, I can't get my ride on in there. It's got to be done with the push mower. and I grossly underestimated it. I think I quoted around $200 to do this job, and
so it's a big job.
I should have quoted 1,000.
Really? That bad?
But seriously, I went in there and I started, and it was thick buffalo, and I would push the HRU 216 1 meter forward, and I would have to take the catcher off and empty it.
Oh, no. Oh, so you were taking it right down.
Well, it was too high and too thick. I couldn't mulch it. It just wouldn't mulch. And when you try and catch it, you'd feel the catcher just moving it forward and be like, that's
so
full.
What did you end up doing?
I called them up and I said, I called them up and I said, my quote's grossly underestimated, and what do you want to do? And they said, get lost. And I was like, all right, see you later. And this is a long time ago. I wouldn't be very happy with doing that now. I would be like, I'll finish the job no matter what. But back then it was like, you know what? I've grossly underestimated. I've gone and I've been upfront with them and told them that, and they didn't want to pay anything more.
That's the best way to do it, at least, isn't it?
Yeah. You know? So I lost out because I didn't get paid anything. But, you know, I had to walk away.
Yeah, but you learn by your mistakes, don't you? That's why I always look at the lawn thatch when I quote. I'll walk on it and jump up and down with my feet, see what it's going to be like. Because some of them, I want it a lot shorter, but then it's 6 inches attached. I say, if you want that short, see that 8x5 trailer, I would have to take my zero turn off, right?
Yep.
Take it off, and that would fill the trailer, right, with all this. And they think, can you just come to me so you get stuffed? No, thanks, sorry.
Yeah.
You need a dethatching expert and a couple of trailers full.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody does it. That's what people have got to realise what to do when you stuff up your quote.
Yep.
You know, you can't. To me, if I thought, well, I've given them the price, I'm just going to have to keep doing it because they want it done regularly at that price, and I said yes, right?
Yeah.
Do you walk away from it, right? Because I've got the theory I want to be happy when I go to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to be miserable. Let's say if I've got that job that I've underquoted on and I absolutely hate going there on a Wednesday, okay. Sunday night when I'm looking at my schedule, I start getting the shits. I start getting in a shitty mood knowing that I've got to do that. Whereas to me, you're a lot better off mentally getting rid of the job, right?
Yeah.
And there's one's a better one you're going to learn next time is going to come along soon enough to replace that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I've said it countless times before. I'm like, if you know your best option is to get rid of the job, go back to them and say, I can't do it at this price anymore. You can find somebody else. Where I need to be in order to turn up and do this job is whatever price you need to be to go, okay, I'm really happy turning up here now.
And then if they can either say yes or no, or they can say, well, all right, and they've really got the shits, we'll pay it, you know. But just say, oh, look, I'll tell you what, they're going to be shitty because every time you come and mow their lawn, right, they're going to think you're ripping them off. So I would prefer to say, oh, look, I could recommend somebody else to come and quote, right, because I'd rather not work for someone who's unhappy with the service, and I can understand that because of the first price I gave you and now I'm changing it. I'd rather just part ways with them rather than face that animosity every time you go and mow the lawn.
I did that with.
I think you've got to be happy. You know?
I did that with one customer years ago. I said I can't keep doing it at this price. I recommend you get somebody else to do it. What I need is going to be way more, and they did not want to get a quote from anybody else. They're like, I'm not happy about paying extra, but I want you to do my lawn.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay.
Good. Yeah. You've done a good job and you're reliable. That's the big thing. People want, firstly, they want reliability is what I'm hearing if I'm going to do new quotes, right? And then the second is quality.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at how many contractors or individuals are unreliable. They don't turn up for various reasons, but sometimes there are bona fide reasons. Might have had a breakdown or whatever. What we've got to do is ring the client. And then sometimes I've got a lot of jobs whereas they've used a ride-on the front lawn or whatever, but they've had the side shoots spitting out onto the road. Right? And they've just left it there. I actually drove past one today. I said, have a look at that, mate. And he said, holy shit. The ride-on was actually, it was a corner block and someone's used a ride-on. There's bloody grass all over the frigging road. You know?
I drove past somebody on Sunday afternoon. I was driving home from Bathurst, and I drove past this woman who was blowing the grass straight out onto the road into the traffic.
Yeah, they're probably thinking, oh, well, if they're going fast enough, they'll take the grass with them. They'll blow it down the street. If
Mark Ladaway's listening, he'll be going, good on her for doing that. That's the right thing to do. Everyone else here is sitting there going, that's terrible.
My God, I'd get a don't come Monday, Get fired if I did that.
Exactly.
Because some customers can be extremely picky, but I try not to give them any ammunition. You know what I mean? I'd rather just do it right the first time.
But speaking of that, and good place to finish, that customer that I said I recommend you get somebody else to do it because my price is going up more than you want to pay, and he said, I'll keep you. One of the reasons he kept me is because the previous person, he had asked them to catch the grass, and they made their own decision and side discharged the grass, and he thought it looked
the customers. You mean the customer wanted it caught, or
the customer wanted it caught. The previous person,
so he didn't want to do that. He side discharged it.
Yeah, so the previous person just ignored the customer and gone, I'm going to side discharge, and the customer told me that's terrible. It looks terrible. I want it caught, and I said, let me show you what it can look like when it's mulched, and that's where I want to finish the podcast. Mulching was better than catching.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.
Well, there you go. Good work, mate.
It was, honestly, it was a waterfront property. It was over an acre, and he wanted the best, and I gave him the best, and the best was mulching, not catching.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah. Nice buffalo lawn, and it came up absolutely mint.
Oh, buffalo are great to mulch.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
But it might be a different kettle of fish when you've got very wet cooch. So.
Yeah.
I found.
This is the thing, right? I'm going to brag about that one because he went with mulching because he could see it was better, but there's definitely different needs for different jobs.
Yeah. That's why sometimes I dread winter. You've got the dew in the morning,
Yeah.
But we'll be right with the HRU because we'll just bag it. It won't block up. Whereas, with the HRX, it did battle at times, but it was easier to physically manoeuvre around a lawn, and
Yeah,
as I say,
yep.
Everything's got their pros and cons.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming into the dungeon. It's been great.
Thanks, Gary. It's been great having a chat, and I hope at least one person might have appreciated or learned something. I don't know. Or
I reckon Grant Osborne will enjoy this one.
He will. Grant's a good bloke. He's a very knowledgeable bloke. He's been around for years. We're going to have to give him a nickname, like Fossil or something.
That sounds good. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Gary.
No worries. Thanks, Steve. Have a good afternoon.
I'll see you around. Thank you, mate. Bye.
Just hang on.